Hello, it's Krista here again today with you, and today I'm going to talk a little about narcissism and celebrations, holidays. Mainly, I'm doing this today because this is my birthday today, and I'm still learning how to say no, and really learning a lot about that right now in my recovery classes. And how it's working in my life. As you all know, in my last video, I talked about the last fight with my ex-narc, which I keep trying to go like this with, and in a very slow but gradual process. And of course, it usually happens around holidays, especially when you are in a narcissistic relationship with anyone, be it like your partner, family members, or friends, or something, people that you're close with. But especially I see it in cases of relationships where you're close with someone that is narcissistic or cluster B. Like, it never goes well. A holiday or a celebration of any kind never goes well with a narcissist around. And the reason that is because they can't stand it, because they are not the center of the universe anymore. Being a codependent person, which is how the narcissist likes you, and if you're not going to be like that anymore, the narcissist cannot get a source of supply, and therefore will move on to another source. So now, in this instance, I did talk about in my last video that it erupted again, and of course, it ended up that he called the cops on me because I got angry and I accidentally knocked on a window of his too hard and the glass broke, and so now I get to pay probably for that big fine and possibly get a lawyer again. And I wasn't strong enough. Obviously I have not healed that part of me yet, and I'm still doing just more and more and more education, and trying to come out of that denial place where I keep thinking that there's some part of him that we could still be together. But I forget, I just forget, because that narcissist will brainwash you so much that a person does forget themselves. Because when you're constantly trying to fulfill their needs and other wants and their happiness and everything, when you're constantly revolving around that person, when you do have a day like I said, today is my 42nd birthday, and I know in all my past relationships, a year or so would go by, and usually the new relationship that I had would just quit giving me attention after a while. And even narcissists are really bad at like not getting you any presents, or not even remembering that special day when that special day comes. And that goes for like Christmas times and stuff too. I know a lot of mine have just said, oh, well, I don't have any money, and then, which doesn't explain a thing, because at least some of them have been able to keep jobs. So, but it's still a very hurtful thing, because if you are remaining in any kind of contact with these people, they will just do the same thing, and it just crushes you and breaks your heart even more every time, until a person can no longer stand it. Well, I'm really getting to that point right now, especially after that escalated fight yesterday. And I not only want to talk about that, but I want to talk about families as well, and how bad that it can be. But learning how to say no is really kind of like, can be kind of a downtime, because maybe you're learning to draw boundaries with these people. In all cases, it might not happen with more severe cases of narcissists. But I'm going to talk today a little bit about my mother, and what we've been going through lately. like I said in my class, in my workbooks, it's a lot about being assertive, not acting aggressive, but being more assertive, which is a big one I'm trying to practice right now. And learning to say no. Um, like we talk about in group, and it's such a hard one for codependents when we were made to say yes all our lives to everyone else's thing. And now the funny thing is that my mother and I's birthdays are like 3 days apart, and we always usually celebrate it together. Although my mother is like really tight with my narcissistic father, and it doesn't matter what he says to me or how he treats me. She's always on his side, and then I'm the crazy one and I'm the bad person because I'm the black sheep. So, I don't know, kind of a little, gets me kind of a little crazy because the last two Christmases, um, I've had to be out there at their house for Christmas because my kids have had to be out there as well because of all the stuff that went down. And and the last two Christmases were also ruined, and I didn't even make it all the way through it because, like for instance, last year or the 2 years ago, my parents refused to let which he was still my boyfriend at the time, my ex, they refused to let him come over for Christmas. And I got really upset and crazy and confused and frustrated and very hurt, and then got in a big fight with them and then got kicked out. And then last year I tried it one more again because my daughter was home, but she's living there with an ankle bracelet on right now. And what happened was, all of a sudden my mother had kind of tries to outdo me on Christmas time because they have a little bit of money. And so my mother got my daughter a laptop, my youngest daughter, and all of a sudden they started talking with each other about homeschooling, and I was never in on it. I was never asked or talked to about it before or anything. And that was really hard for me. And again, there was another fight, and I just couldn't handle it. And at group they were teaching me that whenever that happens, just to walk away, just to walk out, and just to walk away because I don't need to be around that. But it's really hard because it's Christmas, and you're trying to spend time with your kids, and it's just a mess. It's just a bad dream and a mess, just like when you're dealing with that kind of thing is, whenever you have to be around a narcissistic family or dynamics, it really is a nightmare. I mean, you could play nice for a while, but it just doesn't stay like that with them because they're always arising conflict and tension. So, anyways, they keep you in that state, and it's just a really ugly one, and I can't stand it. So, it came my birthday this year, and my mother came into my apartment, and I've lived here for 1.5 years now. She's only been in my apartment 3 times, not for very long either, probably not even an hour at a time. Since I've begun to study and stand up to, all of this, but they've always kind of been like that anyways, just real distant. But then, that enmeshment is still there, and I think I'm starting to break that a little bit because when my mom walked in here, she was like, started planning what they were going to do for my birthday, and all of a sudden she planned that everybody was going to come to my very small apartment and throw my birthday party, and what time it was going to be, and just all this stuff, and I was going right along with her like I usually do. And it all happened, and then I even had a job I'd forgotten about, and we both worked the same job. We drive taxi, and I had a job, and I didn't realize I had taken it on my birthday. And I said, "Well, I'm going to have to cancel this job." And all of a sudden, she grabs it from me, the paper, and she says, "Oh, well, we'll do it." And so I kept saying no, 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 and she just kept insisting that she was going to do it. And so it's kind of amazing because the next day came, and that was the fight came with my ex and I just went off the charts, you know. And I just had it with everything, you know, just was so upset. Just, you know, I'd had enough. And so I texted her, and I have to say that it might not have been the nicest message because things came out. It just all kind of spilled out there, and all the like grief and anxiety that she has put me through, you know, and I just basically told her that, you know, every holiday that I spend with them lately, you know, these past few years hasn't been very nice. And I really kind of just wanted this one to myself this time and me and my kids. And I was angry at her because she um, tries to keep my children all to herself. I mean, you know, maybe I'm a little jealous, but I think that a person has a right to be, especially when it comes to their own children. My family are just like the two. My parents are just big hogs. They just hog everything, and they take over, even with my children. And really, all I really wished for this year was my kids, to me and myself, you know. And I didn't make that known to her. I just kind of blamed her for it, I guess, maybe, you know, that. But I think sometimes I go a little too far with what I say. But again, when a person gets so overwhelmed and upset, it's hard to control and maintain your equilibrium. So when you're dealing with these types of people, and boy, don't I wish that I could go no contact with them, but right now I can't. I can't do it for a while yet. And you know, my kids are two of them are full grown now, and there is only about a year and a half left for her to be 18, and then they can. It's going to be different. It's going to be changing, and my parents are getting older, and they are definitely becoming grumpier in their old age with more sicknesses now and stuff. But and the grumpier they get, the worse it gets. Unfortunately, the older they get. Um, so, anyways, what happened was basically I just told her no. I didn't want to throw a party with her, and I didn't want her to even get me a present because I'd had enough, you know. I just had enough of those types of people, and over and over again, you know, just. And so this is what happened. Of course, she always gets mad um, when I stand up to her, and then I get like the silent treatment forever. And but the real crappy thing was that she didn't even do that run for me, the taxi run for me that she said that she was going to do after I gave her that message. And of course, that made my business look bad. And it's just another crappy thing that they pull, you know. They just pull that carpet right out from under you, and they disrespect you in all ways that they can, and they do it for spite, just to hurt you and get you back. That's how they feed off of you. That's how that power goes, because that actually brings them more power to make them feel better about themselves. It's really unfortunate, especially for like empaths to see that, you know, because we are so giving, and we have like these big hearts and everything. But yeah, I mean, you know how it goes, if you've ever lived that pattern your entire life. But when you do start kind of unmeshing from these types of relationships, you can see kind of how ugly that it was when you might not have been able to see it before. I see that with my ex as well. And just the amazement about how he a narcissist can just completely suck all the living goodness and badness out of you. Just suck you energy dry. And it's just scary, and it's can be overwhelming and sometimes hard to see. But it's amazing how then when I'm pulling away from these people, how I am beginning to see the amazing conflict that there is there when they're doing that energy sucking. Like, it is really, I'm beginning to see it and how bad that it is. And it really is, it's nasty. I mean, if anybody's ever had to deal with these people, even if you might not be able to see it yet, if you are ever to pull away enough in your own life and become aware of what they did, it's pretty nasty. So anyways, even though these people don't realize that they're doing it, but they are doing it, it does exist. And I'm glad to see that now, because there was a part of, for a long time, that I couldn't speak to anybody about it. It was like it didn't exist, and everybody wanted to pretend that it wasn't like that, but it was. And I had to learn that too. So it can be really scary at first when you start confronting them, but the more you do it, I mean, I know that it's going to get easier. The habit's going to become easier, and just to kind of be able to break that enmeshment up is just an amazing thing. And what's really good about that is when you do that, I'm going to have the loveliest day today with my children. It ends up, my wish is coming true. Because my oldest daughter works very hard, and she makes really good money these days. She works up in the RV factories. And so because she has an ankle bracelet on for a while yet, we get to take her out every Sunday for 3 hours. And we decided yesterday that she is taking me and my 2 other children out to eat. She's paying for it. And it's just going to be us. And I feel a lot of peace and delight because of this, And I don't want anything more. And I'm just content and happy with this. I don't really feel a guilt a lot, maybe a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I know what I'm doing is right. I know what I'm learning is right, and I feel a good sense, and that's a good thing. So I am smiling today, my big tooth space smile. And I just want to say that there is hope, and keep going. Just keep going, because eventually they will fall away. You will go ahead with your life, and the real you will emerge, and it's going to be a lot more fulfilling and wonderful. So thank you. God bless for watching, and have a beautiful one, everybody.